A shooting this morning leaves one man dead and another in police custody. Island Luck CEO welcomes the passage of the gaming bill. The deputy opposition leader has mixed feelings on a referendum delay. And the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister on hand for the launch of a new GED program. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, a man who was granted bail just 3 months ago has been arrested in connection with this morning's murder in Fox Hill, but not before he reportedly led police on a high-speed chase through Kemp Road and Nassau Village. Authorities say the victim was shot in the back of his head at the suspect's home. Vonnie Toot has the details.
An accused murderer released from prison in June is back behind bars tonight after police say he was arrested in connection with this morning's murder here on Johnson Road in Fox Hill. CDU Chief Superintendent Paul Roll says that suspect was charged back in 2010 with the murder of the relative of this latest victim. Roll says the victim, who was shot in the back of the head, rode a motorcycle to the suspect's home around 10 a.m., followed by two other men on bikes.
The victim got into an argument with a resident of the house where he had stopped. And as he was about to leave, the male resident of that residence withdrew a handgun, discharging shots in his direction, hitting him to the back of his head.
Roll says a family member drove the 28-year-old Step Street resident to hospital where he died. Officers arrested the murder suspect a short time later, but not before he led them on a high-speed chase in Kemp Road,
where they believe the vehicle may have crashed in the Kemp Road area. The suspect then got into another vehicle, and the officers eventually intercepted the suspect in the Nassau Village area. He is now in police custody.
Roll says the suspect, who is being held at the Central Detective Unit, was released from prison just 3 months ago after being charged with murder back in 2010.
Yeah, he was released on bail sometime in June of this year. He was charged for murder of one of the deceased relative.
Roll says authorities are searching for a second suspect in this incident. It's the second murder in under 48 hours and the 87th killing for the year, according to Nassau Guardian records. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Island Luck CEO Sebastian today praising yesterday's passing of the gaming bill as a milestone in the nation's history and the first step in ending gambling discrimination in the Bahamas. The web shop boss also cried shame on those who consider number house owners to be lawbreakers and hit back at those who consider the passing of the bill to be the death of democracy.
It was a long time coming. It's been 4.5-year journey, but I don't consider it a victory. I just consider it a milestone in Bahamian history. I think that it marks and ensures the first step in ending at least one form of discrimination in our country that has plagued our nation for far too long. I think the government is on the right track with this step, and I think it's one of many steps that it'll take to get us to where we need to go, which is total access, total equality, and total ownership opportunity.
The gaming bill passed in the House of Assembly yesterday evening to resounding applause from the government side, and more than a year after voters said no to web shop regulation in last year's gaming poll. In the lead up to that referendum, the Vote Yes campaign, supported by Sebastian, argued the benefits of a regulated web shop industry, while the Vote No campaign, led by the Bahamas Christian Council, argued gambling should remain illegal. Passers of the Vote No campaign wore black in the House of Assembly for the tabling of the new gaming bill earlier this month to mourn the death of democracy. While he stressed that he has a lot of respect for the church, Bastian said today he doesn't see it that way.
I always respected the church, and I always respected the church's position, and it's not a loss for them, nor is it a victory for us. I just think that, we're not politicians, they're not politicians. The government looked at what was before it, and it made a decision based on their recommendation for what's in the best interest of the country. We've heard the term about the government going against the referendum bill being considered the death of democracy. And, I just wanted to, in my opinion, that's someone else's opinion, but in my opinion, democracy was already challenged on the basis that why would a Bahamian in 2014 have to even go to a referendum in the first place to do something that's already being done and owned and operated by foreigners in our country? It just doesn't make sense to me.
The Island Luck CEO also cried shame on those persons who consider what he called the pioneers of the web shop industry to be criminals. He said they never thought what they were doing was wrong and should not be blamed for successive governments' failure to act as gaming activity was proliferated and technology advanced. Rather than lawbreakers, Bastian said web shop bosses are entrepreneurs.
Again, everybody has their opinion. Everybody seems to be law experts now and have their interpretation of what the law really is. We never thought what we were doing was wrong. We knew it wasn't covered in the Lotteries and Gaming Act. We cannot be blamed for governments and successive governments sat there and allowed technology to make our laws obsolete. And, we are entrepreneurs. I'm proud of all the guys. I'm proud of Craig Flowers and Percy Munnings and all the pioneers of this industry. Hats off to them for what they've done. They didn't do it for themselves. They didn't do it for me. They did it for Bahamians. And it's my duty now to take where they've brought the gaming industry to a new level, but I want to take Bahamians along with me.
Bastian said Bahamians will feel the positive effects of the bill, explaining the passage of the gaming bill will only prove beneficial to the Bahamian economy. He added he's personally committed to expanding ownership opportunities for other Bahamians and providing jobs. Well, the minister responsible for gaming, Obi Wilchcombe, says he believes those who voted against the bill do not realize how closing web shops would impact the economy. Simone Davis reports.
While Wilchcombe says he respects the decisions of those MPs who voted against the bill, he says he thinks they voted no because they did not fully analyze the consequences that Bahamians would deal with if the government decided to shut down web shops. He said if web shops were to shut down, it would leave thousands of people out of jobs and close businesses in the country, which would be bad for the economy.
I think the difficulty I have with the decision to vote no, whilst we accept the opposition's position and that of Mr. Rollins, that the opposition thought that the referendum should be the guiding post, and Rollins considering the fact that Bahamians should be in casinos or be allowed to play in casinos, we accept their positions, except what about those who are in the casinos working? You just voted against 3,000 people employment. You just voted against a large number of Bahamians who depend upon the linkages. Now, what are you saying? Are you saying tomorrow, if you become the government, are you going to flip? If you're going to flip-flop as usual, what are you likely to do? Is that going to mean that you're going to shut down the casinos? I think we have to be a little bit more understanding of why we're opposing situations.
He added that this is what democracy is all about when the government is trying to better the country. He said now that the gaming bill has been passed, the next step for the government is to ensure that the law is now managed properly. He said the government is now putting in place mechanisms to ensure the integrity of gaming is sustained.
Again, democracy is about that, where we're all trying to make our country better, and trying to do so, we have to have a respect for the rule of law. Well, we've had a situation that's long pending, we had to deal with, and I think we've effectively dealt with it now. Now we've got to ensure that it's managed properly. That's where the real work begins. The real work begins with us putting in place a mechanism to ensure that the integrity of gaming is superior and that is sustained. So we're going to work on that, and in fact, we've already started to work on that.
Wilchcombe says political leaders should find a way to rationalize to see whether or not what they're doing makes sense and to ensure that all sides are respected and understood. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
The government also delayed the constitutional referendum for a fourth time yesterday. Deputy F&M leader Loretta Butler Turner told NB12 today that while she would have loved to see the referendum happen a long time ago, the government has already divided the country and now has a few things to fix before it can think of setting a new date. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Now that the government has delayed the constitutional referendum on gender equality, F&M Deputy Loretta Butler Turner feels they should use this time to simplify the 4 questions on that ballot, as well as promise the Bahamian people that they will abide by the results.
They've got to be able to guarantee the Bahamian people that this is in fact a binding referendum. They will not flip-flop on them the way they did with the gaming results. And thirdly, they need to do it and not delay another time. They've got to move forward if they're serious.
That is just some of the advice F&M Deputy Leader Loretta Butler Turner has for the government after it was announced that the constitutional referendum that was set for November 6th has now been delayed till 2015. She said in the meantime, the government has to first make the wording of the questions as simple as possible.
I think the questions are very confusing. I think that we need to look at the questions that were asked in 2002 and take a page out of that book and let's make the questions as simple as possible. Do we believe that men and women of the Bahamas should enjoy the same rights to be able to pass citizenship on to their spouses? Yes or no? And, just make it simple as possible.
Butler Turner believes the confusing wording of those questions is what brought up off-the-wall side discussions in the first place, like question 4 possibly opening the door to same-sex marriage. When asked if she fears the referendum will be placed on the back burner to other issues like web shop gaming or value-added tax, the F&M deputy said this.
I think each will continue to detract from the other until, there is resolution to any of them. Obviously, they're moving ahead now because we passed the gaming bill yesterday, but even that, I think it's caused a division in the country. And while you're going to the church now to talk about healing, after going against that referendum, you're also wanting to talk with them simultaneously about partnering with the government in a unified front on the referendum.
As for the January 1st implementation of value-added tax being just over 3 months away, Butler Turner said just how people were confused about the referendum, they are equally as confused about VAT.
I don't know what they're doing. This is not our agenda. This is theirs. And as far as I can tell, there are many people that feel that the educational process has yet to begin on VAT, and we're now just 3 months out. It certainly doesn't give a large enough opportunity from the 6 months which they promised on July 1st. So I think it's going to be difficult. I don't want to make that call. I just think that it's going to be rushed, and I think that it's going to cause a lot of confusion. And whenever there's confusion, people resist.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.